Hello and welcome to Redeeming Thunder. I'm here to give you a phenomenal prophetic word. This has a lot to do with peace in the storm. Some of you are right at the brink of a breakthrough, right at the brink of a Red Sea moment, and it's been quite a tumultuous time for you. Now, this is given to me on 1/29/2026, and I am recording this in the end of March, early April, okay? And this prophetic word is already manifesting on earth as it is in heaven now, in this time frame of late March, early April. Even though I received it in January, that's only 3 months away, there's been quite a bit of a pattern that it's 6 months away, but everything is now colliding together, okay? And it's now, from receiving it, now only 3 months, okay? So, but because I'm recording it now, in the month of early April, it has already occurred in your life. If not, you're living it presently, okay? So now I received this prophetic word through a dream. So I'm gonna say the dream and then explain it so that you can understand what's happening during this peace in the storm situation. You want to have peace in the storm. You don't want to be all frazzled and chaos, having triggers and just exploding. We're not doing it crash out, okay? You may need to have assistance while you are going through your breakthrough moment of your Red Sea moment, okay? So, in the dream, now let me just rephrase that this is given to me on 1/29/2026, chapter 64, part 2. Peace in the storm. So, in the dream, I recall just have moved into a home. And the home was beautiful. It had a tall hedge around the yard. It was a corner house in the dream. And so I had stopped going back and forth between the old home and the new home to pick up a few things or drop them off. Okay? So it looked to be that there was a van, and this woman had left her baby in the car to stop by for 5 minutes, okay, to drop something off or pick something up from the house, the new house. When she got out of the car, the other children went along with her to assist her to expedite the transport. And upon looking around, there was a driveway and there was other luxury homes around the corner. So she was like in a private lot that was gated. Then there was also a tall hedge bush all around with a vast, lovely yard, okay, that was covered by the hedge. And the day looked to be sky blue with clouds, so you can get the time frame of the time. It's no longer winter season. There was freshly green grass, and there had to have been very tall palm trees amongst the driveway. The driveway upon entering was divided by palm trees and a flower bed. So one way would be entry and the other way would be exit, and it was divided by this the area was divided by palm trees and tropical plants. Along to the right, it looked like there was luxury mansion houses. Okay? And then to the left was another driveway and then steps that went down, and that's where the home was. It was a very nice home. It just was more hidden. Okay, so there she goes down, walking down the steps, and she enters the home, and she sees another vehicle parked, a 4x4 vehicle parked in down the steps. And then they walk through the front door, and there's windows and tropical plants in flower beds right by the windows. And the house is a brick house with tan paint for exterior. Okay, and as they walk in, it's a very nice home. And she asked one of the sons to go check on the dogs that were in the garage. Okay? She noticed that there's a gray rug, okay, in the living room. And she wanted to check in the garage to make sure everything is in order. And when she looks, nothing is in order. There's a prophetic meaning regarding a garage. It seems to look dark, as if one of the lights went out, and so it's kind of dim in there. And to the left side, there's a dog there. There's a kennel. And then, like, the kennel was not built. It looked like it fell apart and flattened. And then the garage door was opened a crack, like 1/3 of the way, so light could come in. And one of the dogs looked quite fierce, and the other dog was missing. He had escaped when the garage door went up. And there was a stack of many rugs, and everything was all crowded. There was boxes, stacked up boxes, and then there was just, it looked like a giant mess in there. Okay? And then she asked him, "Why did you open the garage?" And he says, "Because it was dark inside." So now it seems to be that she was overwhelmed. She had the children. She was trying to move in. Okay? The children are very young. I don't know if you're in that circumstance where you feel overwhelmed in this hour. And a lot is placed on your plate, and you don't have anyone to help assist you to lessen the load. Okay? And so now she's having to go find the dog that escaped through the garage door, right? And that's just something else that she has to do. And so what they're doing is, as they walk towards the steps, so you don't remember how they went down a couple steps to get into their home? Well, there is a flood suddenly just showed up. I don't know if it came from the drain. Then, okay, that was a sewer drain that was near the pavement of the driveway. But there was just a big puddle that just spread out everywhere. It was hanging out right at the edge. It did not go down the steps, which was very interesting. It just hovered right on top. And it was murky green water, and I saw, well, obviously she saw, but I'm standing there as well. And she saw a lady walking her dog amongst the flood. Okay, she's still thinking that she needs to find the dog that was just wandering around the neighborhood. And we walk up now, and everybody is ankle deep in water. And it's feeling quite overwhelming, because now what she thought was going to be a quick, less than 5-minute trip is now going to take longer. So she goes to the van. She goes to the van to go get her daughter out of the car, because she realizes it's going to take longer now than the anticipated time frame. And the little girl has red cheeks. Like, she looks very tired. It was getting a little warm in the car, it seemed like. And I'm not saying that you're leaving your child in the car. It's just a circumstance where a feeling of feeling frazzled. So whatever you, the lady in the dream, is experiencing, feeling frazzled. You know, when someone feels frazzled and overwhelmed, sometimes they get warm. Their cheeks get warm. Okay? And feeling very burdened by all the responsibilities. And it could show forth physically on your body, right? But your children couldn't feel what you're feeling. Okay? And I think that's why I had that part shown in the dream. Okay, so now she walks around the corner. She's trying to get to find the dog. Somebody has a leash. And I mean, the baby girl's doing just fine, right? She's on her hip now. But of course, she's doing everything with the baby on her hip now. And she walks around the corner from that big lot of the hedge. And she obviously feels like she needs help, okay? She feels it. And when she felt it in the dream, and I felt it through the dream, that is when she hears someone walking around the hedge, the tall hedge. And it's a familiar voice. And someone saying, I'm coming, I'm coming. You needed help, and I'm coming here to help. Right? And she just grabs the leash to get from one of the children was holding the leash. And she just grabs the leash from their hands and says, I'll go get the dog. I'll go look for the dog. Okay? And this woman, she's just standing there, and then her mother just says, look at this flood. This is a huge problem. And bringing up the huge problem about the vehicle being down below. And so the woman starts saying, this is a 4x4. This will just drive up over the steps. It's fine. If it was a regular car, it wouldn't make it. But since it's a 4x4, it's built for this exact situation. That's what it's for. Okay? And then she started bringing up how the flood could go down into, because they're kind of in an embankment, you know, they're like lower elevation than the other houses, hidden. She's like, this could be a big problem because the flood could go all the way down into the home. And she said, and so then the woman has to bring up and say, or she said, it's not though. Have you noticed that I've been standing here for a bit, and I noticed that the flood just sits right at the edge. I don't know, maybe it's supernatural or something, but it's just holding there. Kind of weird, but it's not going down. So I'm not going to even worry about it if it's not happening. Okay? And so she then says something about the garage. And the garage is a huge mess. What do you know, it's getting overwhelming. It's not up to standards or whatever, right? And so then the woman has to go and encourage her again and say, look, it's handled. All I have to do is tell my husband, and he'll call the plumber, and it will get drained, and he will clean out the garage. Okay? Okay, so it was interesting that she said that piece. I just have to tell my husband. Okay? And you're thinking, well, this might apply to you if you have somebody, a counterfeit and or nobody, and you're like, I don't have anybody to lean on to assist me with this. How does this even apply to me? Or how it applies to me because the person I do have does not chime in and help on time. He allows it to get to flooding level of an emergency, and you have to chase him and or beg him and or scold him and or put him in the doghouse in order to get him to get anything done around the home. Right? It might feel that way. And so then it could be that the dream is interpreting that you're needing assistance from other people to get this breakthrough. You can receive this breakthrough, right? And but the help that had come is pointing out facts that maybe you do not want to see, or they are almost making things worse with the comments of obvious and so what you need to do is pray for peace. Okay? Because they may have good intentions to assist you with these problems, but what doesn't help is their side comments. Okay? With that part, it does not assist for you to feel like you can lean upon their support, because almost like if they're rubbing it in to making you feel that life is not in order, which you already knew, and you are ready to rebuild, which is why she was moving into a new house. But the dream is showing that the counterfeit, this is why this is a counterfeit dream and or a prodigal spouse that does not return. Okay? Who you were trying to build with had been slacking on their areas. And that is why it was in disarray. And it's causing the flooding feeling. And so in order for the Most High to say, I already, to show you what is happening here, He's giving it to you in a dream. And He's saying, I already moved you to a luxury home. I already moved you to a luxury neighborhood. I already put a hedge of protection over you. I already gave you the vehicle. Okay? And all that's left is, you know, she said some very interesting comment. Oh, I just have to, and she said it with such confidence. I felt her confidence. And she's like, oh, I just have to, you know, tell my husband and he will come fix all of this. And what I realized is the Most High is going to present to you your future ordained spouse. Because who is breaking, who had broke, and who had been putting things in disarray and procrastination, who had been breaking the flow of organization, who has not been rebuilding, is not going to be the one that's going to build. Does that make sense? Who has caused you to carry the burden on your own is not going to be the one that's going to suddenly just resolve it all for you. You got to look at the pattern, not of the promises that they're giving to you in that moment. Okay? And so, peace comes in the storm when you allow people to come and assist. Okay? And what you also need to do is delegate jobs. You can't take it on by yourself, right? And so what you need to do is realize that there's a few coming for you. Okay? One from your past, one from your present, and the prodigal spouse if you have one, or counterfeit. Okay? And so to not be confused on who you're supposed to choose. Because right now may be where the prodigal spouse that doesn't return and or / counterfeit may portray characteristics of change. As you are putting up boundaries, as you are separating yourself from those who are not equally yoked, they may portray to be on your team and trying to ease their way back into your life. Okay? And so you might think, finally, this is the breakthrough. He's finally getting it. But in the dream, have you noticed, he didn't show up. Other members of the family had to show up to finally get things launched. Okay? So, be aware of when you feel like you're drowning and when you feel like you're not. Who is in your life and making you feel and relieving the heavy burden, and who is there constantly giving it to you? You got to look at the pattern and not just look at the moment in time where they finally did it, one good thing in your life. Don't give them a bunch of reward. Okay? This is when your baddie, diva baddie, feminine receiving era comes into play. A lot of people like to call it dark feminine, but I don't really like that phrase, so I like to call it you're entering your feminine baddie, where you're kind of mean. And when I say mean, I mean stern. When you plug yourself into loving yourself, the negative people will see that you're mean and selfish. That's why I call it baddie. Okay? But really, you're not being a bad and evil person. Those who have put themselves last, those women who have put themselves last, who have carry the burden and do not delegate, okay, who are not in the receiving era, who don't have the concept of self-care and self-love, will see when you are in your healthy feminine baddie era. They'll see that you possibly are being selfish, and or they'll see it as you're throwing away a man that's trying. You're not appreciative. They might see it as you are possibly lazy, and or they might see you as possibly not strong enough, a weak individual, for wanting assistance and or wanting partnership, equality. Okay? And that's coming from someone that hasn't healed. If they think you are those characteristics. Okay? When you take the time to do self-care, pamper yourself, and they see it as that's a waste of money and or waste of time and energy, when you could be motherly downstairs, serving and cooking and cleaning and serving in your upstairs, let's say doing your makeup and your hair. Okay? They could see it as you putting yourself first is unnecessary. And that is someone who is definitely not in their feminine receiving era. Okay? And it's tricky, because the help that could be coming for you could be those comments. Okay? And so what you need to do is still rise above. Okay? You're an intellectual. You have high emotional intelligence, and you can navigate those comments with ease. Okay? And you're in your glow up. You're in your era of looking snatched. All right? And receiving. So you stand your ground. And this is a time frame where you need to get in that garage in your life and eliminate what no longer needs to be there. Work on the projects that have been sitting there for a bit. Okay? Delegate. And you need to remove those you need to declutter your life. And if that means you cannot have certain individuals there, okay, if that means you need to get a dump truck in a sense and throw a lot of things away, physically do it in your life, throwing things away, and spiritually. Okay? Speaking, you still need to not allow certain things to bother you the same way that they bothered you before. And a lot of it has to do with being in your feminine receiving baddie era. So be stern. You're kind of mean. As in, you're not going to deal with a bunch of BS, okay? No scrub is allowed in your personal bubble space. You are a picky in your little inner circle, and you do not waste your energy explaining and overly explaining what you need and what you want.